Hello everyone. So this session is devoted to sequences. Here we'll have an introduction about sequences. So to begin with, we'll see what is meant by a sequence, what are the different ways to represent a sequence, and then we'll discuss about the notion of convergence and divergence of a sequence along with examples. Finally, based on the notion of convergence and divergence, we'll see how to categorize sequences. Okay. So to begin with, we have already seen about the definition of sequence. So we know that a sequence is simply a list of elements which follow a definite pattern. So if you define it more informally, it is just a list of elements which follow a definite pattern. And a sequence can also be thought of which follow a definite pattern. So a sequence can also be thought of as a function. It is actually a special class of functions with its domain restricted to the set of natural numbers. So it can also be thought of as a function whose domain is the set of all natural numbers, whose domain is capital N, which is the set of natural numbers. So when I say that its domain is the set of natural numbers, the next question which you will ask is what is its codomain? Its codomain can be any set. So it is actually the class of all, like a sequence is basically a function. Sequence is basically a function whose domain is the set of natural numbers and its codomain can be any set. So generally the functions which we are interested in are those whose codomain can be R, the set of real numbers, or it can be C, the set of all complex numbers. But as far as all our discussions are concerned, we restrict only to those sequences whose codomain is capital R. So any sequence which is having its codomain as R is referred to as a real sequence. So our basic interest is to study about real sequences. These are basically functions with the domain to be natural numbers, set of all natural numbers, and its codomain to be the set of all real numbers. So we are basically interested in real sequences. We want to study the behavior of these real sequences, properties of these real sequences. Okay. So now, like if you see as examples of these sequences, the sequences which are defined by the rule n squared. Okay. That is, what is it actually? It is a mapping from n to R with f of n is equal to n squared for all n. So I am interested in the set 1, 2 squared, 3 squared, 4 squared and so on. This is a sequence. So like this we will be talking about different functions which have their domain to be capital N, and we will study about the properties of those functions. So before proceeding further, we need to know how to represent a sequence. There are different ways to represent a sequence. So we will talk about the different representations of a sequence. So as you know, as it is a function, it can be defined in the same way as we define any function. It can be expressed in the same way as we define any function. So we can write it as a mapping from n to R such that f of n is equal to the rule which defines the function, with the rule which is used to write down the list of elements. So as I mentioned earlier, it can be f of n is equal to n squared or f of n is equal to n for all n. So like this we can represent a sequence, or we can typically list out the elements of the sequence. So for example, if I have the sequence defined by the rule f of n is equal to 2n, so every integer natural number is mapped down to twice that number. So it will be having the list as 1, for n is equal to 1 it will be 2, 4, 6, 8 and so on, 2n and so on. So next way is to typically list the elements of the sequence. Or in general we write A1, A2 etc. AN. Suppose you are not talking about a specific sequence, but we need to study the property in general, we just list out the elements as A1, A2, A3 and so on. So where this AI for any I corresponds to the image of the real number, natural number I. AI is actually the image of the real number, natural number I. So it is the ith element in the list. AI corresponds to the ith element in the list. So here you have to notice that I corresponds to the index, which is always a positive integer. Okay, I corresponds to the index, and AI corresponds to the element of the sequence. Element of the sequence. That is the image element, image of the function. Okay. So this is one way to represent. So generally we use the alphabets like A, B, C, like we list the elements as A1, A2, A3 and so on. B1, B2, B3 and so on. So these are the like notations which we generally use to represent a sequence. Or we can simply write sequence AN. Within curly brace we just enclose AN, where it is understood that n belongs to the set of all natural numbers, and AN is equal to, AN should define the rule which helps you to list out the elements. So AN can be defined as n squared. Okay, AN is equal to n squared for all n in capital N. So it is just defined, written in the same way as we write a function. So within curly brace, you just enclose AN or BN or CN, whichever alphabet you wish to use. So within curly brace, you write AN where n belongs to capital N, and then write down the rule which defines the elements. That like AN is equal to n squared or AN is equal to 1 upon 2 power n. So this is another way to represent the sequence. Or we can just write down simply like the general term which defines the sequence can be enclosed within curly brace. The sequence can be represented directly by mentioning the general term of the sequence within curly brace. This is another way to represent the sequence. Or we represent graphically. There are two ways to represent graphically. It can be represented as a two-dimensional graph, or it can be represented as a one-dimensional graph. So two-dimensional graph, what is that representation? See, it is basically a function of one variable. And you know how to represent a function of one variable graphically in two dimensions. So how do we represent? We just take the values taken by n along the x-axis. So n is taken along the x-axis, and along the y-axis we plot the values of f of n or an. So thereby you get the graph of the function. For example, if you look at the graph of the sequence n, how it will look like? You will have n is equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on. N takes the values 1, 2, 3 and so on. So corresponding an is when n is equal to 1, an is equal to 1. So this is your a1. This is your a1. When n is equal to 2, you will get a2. When n is equal to 3, you will get a3. So like this you can plot the graph of the sequence. So this graphical representation is referred to as two-dimensional representation. Coming to one-dimensional representation, it is well understood that every sequence has its domain as the set of natural numbers. All sequences have its common domain, namely the set of natural numbers. So there is nothing, it is not necessary to specify the domain all the time. With the understanding that domain is always the set of natural numbers, it is just enough to plot the image elements alone along the real axis. So we just plot down the elements of the terms of the sequence alone with the understanding that its domain is set of natural numbers. So I'll just plot A1, A2, A3 and so on. See, when the elements need not go in the increasing order or they need not go in the decreasing order. They can be evenly randomly placed. A1, A2, A3, A4 can be here, A5 can lie here. It depends on how the sequence AN is defined. Depends on the rule which defines the sequence. So these are the ways to represent a sequence, and the most commonly used representations are, we use any of these two representations generally. We just list out the elements of the sequence generally, and when you typically specify the elements, it is always necessary to specify the general term also to identify the pattern. Or we just, if you are talking about a sequence in general, not a specific sequence, we just use the alphabets A suffixed by n and list them in this way. Or we just write in this form an, or we just write it in this form. So these are some of the common representations which we generally use. And coming to graphical representation, we generally go for one-dimensional representation. Okay. So with this introduction, now we'll just have a little bit analysis of some of the well-known sequences, the standard sequences which we might have come across. So if you see, like let me begin with the sequence 1 by n. Let me begin with the sequence 1 by n. See here, I will not write again and again that n belongs to capital N. It is understood that n belongs to capital N. Whether I write it as n belonging to capital N or n greater than or equal to 1, it is understood that it is having its domain as capital N. So when you look at this sequence, what about its elements? The elements are 1, 1 upon 2, 1 upon 3, 1 upon 4 and so on. Now if you just closely look at the sequence, you can notice that as n increases, in general we are interested in studying the behavior of the list as n increases. Okay. So now if you see, as n increases, the elements of the sequence, they move closer to 0. See, you know, as n becomes larger and larger, 1 by n becomes closer to 0. So when you try to look at the plot of the elements, if you just see, when n is equal to 1, it is 1. When n is equal to 2, it is 1 upon 2. When n is equal to 3, it is 1 upon 3. Now, as you keep increasing the values of n, you observe that the terms of the sequence move closer to 0. So, you are able to find out a single finite value to which the elements of the sequence move closer as n increases. So, this is a kind of behavior which we notice in some of the sequences. So, for example, you observe similar behavior in the sequence 1 plus 1 upon n. 1 plus 1 upon n. Like what you see, all the elements of the sequence will move closer to. So if you just list out the elements, 1 plus 1 upon n is 2, 1 plus 1 upon 2, 1 upon 3 by 2 and so on. So if you see, as n increases, if you try to just list out the elements of the sequence, they will move closer to 1. So if I just look at the elements, when n is equal to 1, an is equal to 2. When n is equal to 3, an is equal to 3 by 2. Alright? So like this, if you keep increasing the values of n, we notice that the terms of the sequence move closer to 1. So you are able to find out a single finite value to which all the terms of the sequence move closer as n increases. And this behavior is noticed even in this kind of sequence. So for example, suppose I am giving you another sequence. I have n squared plus 2 divided by n cube plus 3. Now what about this? If you just see, you'll be how to know whether it is moving closer or not? It should be operated in the same way as we deal with functions. Like if you look at the value of this function, as n tends to infinity, what will happen? So this will be, it is like same as looking at limit n tending to infinity, the value of this function. So limit n tending to infinity, n squared plus 2 divided by n cube plus 3 is what? So this will be, if you just take n squared outside, you'll be having this as limit n tending to infinity 1 plus 2 upon n squared divided by n into 1 plus 3 upon n cube. So what will happen as n tends to infinity? This will tend to 0. Okay, this will tend to 0. So what we observe, if you keep plotting the elements of this sequence, the terms will tend to 0 as n becomes larger